Hello and welcome to the Angry Football Podcast. I'm Ronan,
I'm Adam.
and today we're not angry at all.
We're
absolutely-
delighted.
Yes,
Come on, Ireland.
This
Get in.
this has been the best form we've been in about football since 2002, I think, since Gary Breen scored in the World Cup.
And we hammered Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, 3-0.
Good times.
Very good time. Yeah, we drew against Germany in that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Cameroon.
And then beat Saudi Arabia, got through. Anyway, so fantastic result for Ireland last night. Lots to talk about. The draw for the round of 16 is up for the Euros. Lots to talk about there. And so let's get right into it. We won!
Yes!
We did the impossible and beat Italy. How many players did Italy rest? Just to start with, I think it was about 8.
8 or 9, yeah. But you still, look at they rest all these players, and they bring in these players who would easily walk into our best starting 11.
Absolutely. You say we can't, the second string Italian team is still a really experienced team.
Yeah.
I know.
we're going to rest, Juventus player Barzali, and in comes Angelo Ogbonna of West Ham, who's just had a really good season.
Yeah. I know, it's very... So it's still no easy feat to get one past this Italian team, and it's a complete turnaround from the Irish squad.
Yeah.
After a 3-0 defeat to Italy, to come out and really change the sort of game plan. It was much more pressing.
A lot of pressing high up the pitch as well. They
chasing down balls.
Yeah, but it worked. They won a lot of the second balls. They were they had a lot of possession, and they were really creating lots of chances in and around the Italian half. And Italy, they were dangerous when they did attack, but I think the balance of play Ireland probably did just about edge it.
I know, and then Italy dropped 8 players. Ireland dropped quite a few.
There's a lot of changes in the Ireland team, but I think they kind of needed that. Needed a bit of
kick.
Some fresh players in there, and also thinking about the if we were to get to the next round, which we did, we want a few of our key players rested, Wes Houlihan got a bit of a rest,
and Robbie Brady as well, the goal scorer.
Yeah, so that's important, I think, especially considering when you think we now play France on Sunday. We'll have 3 days rest before that game. France have had a whole week, which seems a bit unfair.
I know, but there was always going to be some teams who had more rest than other teams.
It's just the look of the draw, the group stages.
Yeah, we were the last group, the second to last group.
Yeah.
So we were played on the last day of group matches.
Yeah.
So it was always going to be tough, and particularly considering France score all their goals at the end of the match.
Yeah.
If this tournament has been anything to go by, it's handy to have a bit of energy left in the legs.
Yeah. That doesn't bode well for us, though. If we start to tire late in the game against France, then they'll grab another late goal or two.
I'd say, Ireland does have some pace, and I'd say, if take Aidan McGeady, he's a player who can run. Just bring him on towards the end.
He will track back as well.
Yeah, just play him right back, something like that. It's like, Aidan, you're playing right back now. Just to park the bus, maybe. Because we're going to go 2-0 up, and then just hold out.
Of course, Shane Long is going to run right against this leaky French defence.
Well,
even though they haven't leaked too many goals.
But there are weak points. I think Patrice Evra, we brought up in the previous podcast.
Yeah.
While not a bad player, is possibly a weak point of this French defence.
He's kind of, he is. There's no denying, he's been a great player throughout his career, but he's kind of coming towards the end of his days, and I think it's. I don't know why France didn't bring younger options. They have good players there, but I suppose they probably felt that they want to ease younger players into the national team before.
And it did need some leaders, and I think Evra is a good leader in the French squad.
Hopefully he is a player we can exploit though. And you look at the other side as well. At right back they've got Sanya, who has had a decent season, but he's coming on a bit in years as well. So we could, if we
push them out wide.
Yeah, a bit of pace out on the wide areas. We could, put them under a bit of pressure. Although, I think in the centre of defence, Adil Rami has really impressed me. He's been very dominant in the middle of that
So it's going to be difficult for Ireland.
Yeah.
But like going back to the Italy game, there's so many positives to think of it. Jeff Hendrick, I have to say, has been Ireland's player of the tournament
Yeah.
so far. He's been ever present
He's
in
been
each game.
Yeah, he's fantastic against Sweden, and he's probably our best player against Belgium. Which I mean, I know we didn't play particularly well against Belgium, but Hendrick was one of the few players who did acquit himself well in that game, and another fantastic performance last night. And it bodes well for the future as well, because Hendrick, he's only like 23, 24.
It's
So
good considering Ireland have probably one of the oldest teams in the tournament.
yeah, it's good to see. It's good to see players like Brady and Hendrick going through.
Considering Wesley Houlihan is 34.
Yeah, we're still relying on him.
What do you mean still relying on him? We're just started to rely on Wes, and he's up. He's going to leave us soon.
Thank you, Trapattoni, for that.
No angry. Happy football.
Happy thoughts.
Happy football podcast today. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been an interesting group, I think, for Ireland, like, to be relatively unlucky in the Sweden match. We have played Sweden for most of it.
Yeah.
To
get a very unlucky goal as well.
Yeah. And to be outplayed, well, not really be outplayed, just to get caught in the break 3 times by Belgium.
Yeah.
Like a team, I think the scoreline is a bit deceptive from that Belgium match. We lost 3-0. All 3 goals came on the break.
On the break, yeah. When we were throwing players forward on the attack and having possession, you do actually have possession, you throw those players forward and then you lose. And then Belgium, with the pace and the quality they have, can really hurt you.
Yeah, but Belgium should have come out and dominated us off the ball. We should not have been getting forward as much to get caught on the break.
Yeah, we should have approached that game a bit more sensibly. Try to keep it tight. Try to, if a draw would have been a good result in that match. It's kind of ironic to say that. We should have played for a draw. After complaining throughout the Trapattoni era of this defensive football, and we need to attack more. It is.
I'm gonna disagree with you that. I think the approach of the Belgian game made sense. In hindsight, we can say that we probably should have played for a draw.
Yeah.
But I'd say Ireland didn't play as badly as the scoreline alludes to. We were caught in the break. Belgium are a team that should have bullied us off the ball with the amount of quality that they have in defence and midfield. And in the end, they maybe superior pace and a bit more clinical tactical awareness caught us out in that game. And the Belgium were able to exploit us when we were weak at the back and gave them a bit too much space.
I just think though, because of this whole thing with best third place teams go through. 3 draws would have been enough to get you through. So I think if we had,
would it have been?
Yeah, because you would have had a 3 points and a goal difference of 0, which is what Northern Ireland had.
Oh, okay, that would have actually been enough.
Yeah. So it's I just think had we played for a draw against Belgium, I still would have liked us to have gone out and tried to beat Italy, but it would have taken the pressure off, because we would have known, even if we don't beat Italy, a draw is still enough. There wouldn't have been the pressure of we have to win. It's win or we're going home.
Yeah. But anyway, I thought it was nice to see Ireland actually attacking. But after I think the second goal, then really the heads went down.
Yeah.
But let's not degrade the Italian performance. I think it was Martin O'Neill, though, as a coach, has never struck me as someone who's very tactically aware.
Yeah.
So the stories, he comes out with the team sheet 5 minutes before starting time. So
yeah.
You find out where you're playing. I remember, I think it was Alan Judge when he was playing in the warm up match. Not the warm up matches, but in the run up to the tournament, he was playing out of position.
Yeah.
He wasn't given very much instruction as to why he was playing out of position or what to do out there. I think he had to ask Robbie Keane what to do.
Yeah.
So I think it was more motivational performance from O'Neill. He clearly told the players to go out to not give the Italians any space.
Yeah.
Because given the correct calls, that's what we did against Belgium. When we were getting caught on the break, we gave Belgium too much room. We said, don't give Italy any room.
Yeah.
And it's like, try and bully them, play harsh. I think Roy Keane said Ireland need to be more streetwise.
Yeah.
Using massive air quotes there for the listener. which is probably right. We need to be a bit more aggressive, and I don't
Yeah,
mind seeing aggressive football.
yeah,
The lads are getting stuck in,
yeah. I mean, and I know I say, I would like to have seen it, play for a draw against Belgium, but at the end of the day, I can't be too cynical. I complained, as I said, I complained throughout the Trapattoni era about us playing too defensively. So it is good to see Ireland going out and attacking teams and doing it the right way as well. Not leaving yourself too open as we.
Yeah, so I think lessons were clearly learned from the Belgian match. Pulled a fantastic performance against Italy. Though uh, Italy aren't a bad side, so I don't think they'll be too. I think Conte was
Kante, yeah.
with the C
Kante is
is
French
fielder
midfielder.
N'Golo Kante. So I think he's going to give his players a very hard time over losing what was to Italy a very winnable match against Ireland.
Yeah, yeah,
But I think Italy are a team that can go deep in this tournament. For us to pull off that result was quite phenomenal.
yeah,
We're going
yeah,
to Italy, what rattled the post. They, I think it was in the Sweden match. They they scored a goal from a throw in, got to the forward player, forget his name at the moment, cut inside, beat two defenders, and just curled it in.
yeah,
They very much nearly scored an exact copy of that goal against Ireland when they hit the post.
yeah, yeah,
So they're a very dangerous team.
yeah. But their strongest point is their defense, but they still have plenty of attacking quality as well, which is why I agree. I think they can. I think they could potentially go to the final. I think they'll beat Spain in the round of 16.
Spain have been poor so far this tournament.
Yeah,
Like they,
I mean, apart from
the
the Turkey match,
and Turkey have been exceptionally poor
yeah,
in this tournament.
Spain they weren't entirely convincing against Czech Republic, and they were beaten by Croatia as
Yeah.
well. So
So I think if you're just looking on reputation, Italy versus Spain, you think that would be, a semi-final or a final of a
yeah,
tournament. I think since winning the World Cup, Spain have really been sort of blowing in the wind.
yeah. I mean, tactically the game has kind of moved on a bit, and Spain they haven't adapted at all. They're still playing the same slow-paced tiki-taka football, and it's teams have begun to figure out how to kind of
Counter-attack
how to
that.
counter-attack that, how to be organised and disciplined, and just don't give them any space around the penalty area.
Yeah.
And I mean, you look at Barcelona, like Barcelona and Spain played pretty much the exact same way. There's a lot of Barcelona players in the Spain team, but Barcelona they adapted their game a bit. They brought in Luis Suarez, and they still kept tiki taka as the basis of their game. They did start to have it in them to play a bit more direct when they need to be, which is why they've they came back and won the Champions League and last year and won the domestic double this year. But the Spanish national team hasn't really adapted at all.
No, and I'd say Germany are stuck in that rut as well, which
Yeah.
is odd. Germany seem to have taken a step backwards, which I put down to Guardiola taking over at Bayern Munich.
Yeah, I mean, before Guardiola was in charge there, they were Bayern. They had a very German team,
Yeah.
but since Guardiola's taken over, they've taken on a more kind of Spanish flavor. Like it's
A lot more passing, and I think just watching some of the Germany games has been such a slow build up,
yeah,
which I think is a shame considering they have so many great wingers in
Yeah.
their team. Like I'd love to see Schürrle and Draxler on the ball a lot more.
yeah,
When it's been a very methodical sort of slow build up from Germany, trying to just work it into a position, and then they'll get pretty much up to the end line, and then pull it back
yeah,
to have someone shoot from the penalty spot.
yeah.
No, that's how Germany score. It's the work all the way almost to the goal line and pull it back.
Yeah. I do think they were a bit better against Northern Ireland, and it is a credit to the courage and the heroics of the Northern Ireland defenders and goalkeeper that they did manage to keep it at just 1-0. But I'm still not convinced by Germany.
No,
I mean, and to be fair, they apart from their semi-final against Brazil, they weren't massively convincing in the last World Cup either. But
they still manage to eke it. Like they're in control all the time.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
never get the impression that Germany are not, you know, they're not with it.
yeah. They still have plenty of quality, like
Yeah.
so.
I think that they lack an out and out striker,
Yeah,
which is I've never been a fan of sort of this false nine sort of
me
thing. I think
neither.
you need someone up there whose job it is to score goals.
Yeah,
I know in certain teams, like if you look at the Welsh team, Gareth Bale has a free role,
yeah,
but they still have a striker in Church or Hal Robson
yeah,
Connor.
yeah,
So it can work in more of a midfield context. But if you don't have someone up there to score goals, then your midfield is going to try and advance as some sort of unit,
at,
and
at,
then they're just going to get
yeah.
met by the defensive line.
At the very least, even if your striker isn't, a goal scorer, you at least want somebody who's going to occupy defenders and hold up the ball. Like, I mean, look at Hungary. Like they've got Adam Salai, who I think before the tournament they're saying, oh, he hasn't like scored for his country in like over a year or something, and he then scored against Austria. But he hasn't. Apart from that, he hasn't really looked like scoring. But what he does do is he really, works the defenders. He holds up the ball. Like he's a big, strong striker, and he brings the midfield into play.
Let's have a look at the draw now. So at the top, the first game is Switzerland versus Poland.
Yeah.
In the last.
This is the first side of the draw.
Yeah.
On this side, there's not
We'll
very many of the traditional.
Yeah,
big
we'll make
teams.
a comment. The way the Euros are working out with the 24 teams, it's the top two went through and then the four best third place teams. But the way this has worked out, that some your traditional footballing heavyweights, Germany, Italy, Spain, France, England, are all on one side of the draw.
Yeah, only one of those can make the final.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I'm not going to complain about that. Like,
No, we're going to see something interesting from this other side. So first game is on the 25th, which is in 2 days, is Switzerland Poland.
It's at the end. Yeah, that's two teams who they've looked all right. I mean, they haven't really been amazing, but they're Switzerland. They did all right in the poll. Should have been pretty straightforward group.
Poland,
Poland's the same.
Lewandowski hasn't been on fire the same way he was through qualifying.
Yeah,
So I'd give it to Poland really
yeah,
to get through, and I think they just have a little bit more than Switzerland.
yeah. And the way Poland play with 4-4-2, I think they can. Switzerland can sometimes be caught throwing too many players forward. So I think Poland with their two strikers up front will be able to hurt them on the break. So yeah, I'd go with Poland.
Now this next match is one I'm really looking forward to. It's Croatia versus Portugal.
Croatia have been they've looked really good in this tournament. Beating Spain. And yeah, I have to say, I can see Croatia making the final.
Now they've got some great players. They got Modric and Rakitic really pulling strings in that midfield. What Perisic?
Perisic, and they've got Kovacic of Real Madrid as well. And you look, they just beat Spain in the last match, and what makes that even more impressive was that Modric didn't start.
I know.
I mean, they miss him, and they still have Rakitic and Kovacic pulling the strings. And
it's very impressive. You say Poland and Switzerland. No, they managed to win their matches, but they didn't really look convincing. Croatia have looked convincing. Everyone sort of has been playing well.
Yeah.
No one in the Croatian team has got. Yeah, it was sufficient.
Yeah.
They've been really at the top of their game, and then coming up against a Portugal team who seem to be out of ideas rather than let's just get Ronaldo or Nani on the ball.
Yeah. Even in the last match against Hungary, where they scored 3 goals, the tactic just seemed to be get the ball to Ronaldo.
Yeah, and maybe whip it in to Nani. They're very poor. I felt Hungary could. Mind you, that game was a bit all over the place. Hungary scored 2 goals.
2 deflected goals.
Yeah, taking shots from outside the box.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Still, a goal's a goal. So I'd be worried if I was Portuguese. I'd be worried coming up against Croatia.
I think you look at Portugal's defense, and I think all of their central defenders are like in their 30s. I think like Jose Font of Southampton is like their youngest centre back, and he's like 31, 32. They still got Carvalho, who's like he's 38 now.
Although we are Republic of Ireland, we can't really talk.
We can't really talk. We're
But
still
it's
relying on
we
John
are.
O'Shea.
The facts are facts. And Portugal are a little on the elderly side.
Yeah.
Now, if you're one of these very, very clever fans that start coming to the match with Zimmer frames just to like really rub it into the Portuguese defense, but I'd be back in Croatia
To win that match, and then
and probably to make it at the very least of the semi-finals, because
the
they'll be
semi-finals,
playing the winner of Switzerland and Poland.
yeah,
And
as we said, haven't looked massively
great.
convincing
And
either.
looking the next two matches are Wales, Northern Ireland, and Hungary, Belgium. Croatia could easily make it to the final from this side of the draw.
Mm.
We look, Wales will probably get the better of Northern Ireland.
Yeah,
but
it's a tough one to call because as we said, Northern Ireland, they don't have the biggest pool of players, they don't have the greatest amount of talent, but they have a lot of character. They've got a set system that they really know.
And a manager who knows when to change things and what to change it to.
Yeah.
It's like a great contrast between the two O'Neills. Yeah, if things weren't, there's Northern Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, Republic being managed by Martin O'Neill, Northern by Michael O'Neill.
Yeah.
And where the Republic of Ireland's the Green Army, Northern Ireland are the Green and White Army. Yeah, we're trying to make things confusing with this. Michael O'Neill seems to, he set up the team quite well.
Yeah.
But I've noticed they can go between 5 or 3 or 4 at the back quite easily, and all the players seem to know what to do when the system is changed. So he's instructed his players very well.
Yeah.
Opposite of Ireland, where you go out there.
And another thing about Michael O'Neill is that they lost their opening game against Poland, and then for the second game against Ukraine, he made a lot of changes to the team. I think he might have made like 5 or 6 changes to the starting 11. A lot of people were criticizing him and saying, "Oh, this stinks of desperation. No, he's just, trying everything he can to try and turn this around, and this could be a big mistake." But no, they beat Ukraine 2-0, and that he was rewarded for his decisiveness and for to make those changes.
So he knows what he's doing with his team. And though they're coming up against a Wales side who also are quite
similar, yeah.
But I think Wales just are better than the Northern Ireland.
They're similar, but they have a better standard of players.
They're just up a level. Particularly, Northern Ireland don't really have that standout player.
They don't have a Gareth Bale.
Yeah, I'll say that there are a lot of teams in this tournament. Like you look at Sweden, you look at Portugal, that they have Ronaldo, Ibrahimovic.
Yeah.
Look at, say, Iceland has Sigurdsson probably is their standout player.
Yeah.
And Poland with Lewandowski. You think Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland don't have any standout players, really top class. So it's really down to them playing with a good system. And I think because of that, Northern Ireland are going to suffer against Wales. They lack just that extra level.
Yeah, and Wales have been a team who've really impressed me in the group stages.
They're pretty much showboating against Russia.
Yeah, I mean, I know we said this was probably one of the worst Russian teams we've seen in a long time, but Wales just showed an absolute masterclass in counter-attacking football, and they could have won by a lot more.
And now Hungary, Belgium. This will be an interesting game. Hungary have really impressed.
Yeah,
so far. Belgium, I'm completely unconvinced that the coach knows what he's doing.
Well,
he might stumble into the right setup of his team.
Yeah, like he still thinks Fellaini is a player worthy of starting. I mean,
no,
just no.
No, it's like Fellaini should probably be in the Belgium set in the squad.
Yeah.
He's good to have.
Provides a different option if you're chasing a game and you want to go route one,
but no, and it's like Dembele isn't having the significant role in this team that he should. Like if you look at where he plays for Tottenham, he's playing deep lying midfield role. He's stringing together passes. He's running the midfield. He's making sure everyone who's making runs is getting balls. He's in charge of the distribution, but he's not really doing that for Belgium.
Yeah.
I think that role falls a bit more. There isn't anyone doing that role really in the Belgium squad. It should probably be either him or Axel Witsel.
Yeah, well, they do have Nainggolan and Axel Witsel kind of playing those two holding midfield roles, but they're more kind of box to box players.
Yeah.
For them, it's more about their running and their dribbling, and they're not really playmakers as such.
No. And then the Belgium, their last against Sweden, they scored.
They scored a U goal.
Yeah. Just shoot from outside the
ball breaks to a player outside the box, hit it, and back in the net.
It took a deflection as well.
Yeah.
So it changed the direction and the spin on the ball. Isaacson for Sweden had no chance of getting to it. Belgium,
I think I obviously didn't watch the match because we were watching Ireland, but judging from the highlights, did Sweden have a few chances in that game?
They did as well.
Funny enough, had Sweden won that game, it would have been Belgium
that would have gone out.
Yeah,
exactly.
Mad to think, but yeah,
that would have been nice. But
it would have been funny. But
I think the Belgian defense is good. Like they've got Vertonghen, Vermaelen, Alderweireld.
Yeah, I mean they still got so much quality all over the pitch. Too much quality for you to completely write them off. But I mean,
they don't play with any cohesion.
Yeah.
At all. Like as I said earlier, they should have bossed Ireland off the ball in their match. They won 3-0 for having some of the best attacking players, like Kevin De Bruyne and Romelu Lukaku, and Ireland made the mistake of giving them space.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, it's like they weren't really that good.
Had we been a bit more disciplined, we could easily have, nicked something from them. As opposed to, like Glenn Whelan and Kieran Clark were rushing out trying to make rash sliding tackles way out on the wing.
That Kieran Clark missed a tackle that led to one of the goals, didn't he? I think
that's another point we didn't mention earlier, that Ireland probably didn't have enough composure in that match, defensively.
They're a bit all over the place, which was rectified for the Italy match, which is good. But I'm going to put my money on Hungary for this one.
Yeah,
and I want Hungary to go through more so than Belgium.
I do really like the look of Hungary, especially their midfield. They've got a good mix of youth and experience there. With Zoltan Gira, who's like 37 now. He's still playing, but alongside him, he's got two young players, Laszlo Kleinheisler and Adam Nagy, and they've both been really impressive, and they just got the perfect blend of youth and experience throughout the team. They've their captain Balázs Zsuzsák, who scored those 2 deflected goals against Portugal. He's a good player, and they show a lot of character. So I think they could just edge that game.
Now we're going on to the other side of the draw now. The first match in that is Germany-Slovakia.
Yeah.
Which I think Germany should win that one fairly.
They should.
Slovakia's been
all right. I mean,
okay, elbows aside.
Yeah, Skirtle.
Yeah, we're looking
at you.
But Germany should make it through that one. There isn't that much to talk about.
I mean,
there's no.
Germany will be happy with that draw, I think.
Yeah.
Slovakia, I mean, they play well against Russia, but
anyone can
not saying a lot really.
Well against Russia. Italy, Spain probably has to be one of the juiciest fixtures in this round of 16.
Yeah, a replay of the last final.
Yeah.
And
Italy have never won the Euros. Now they've gotten to finals. And they've won World Cups, but never Euros. So.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think they could beat Spain here. What they say. Strikers win you games, defenders win you championships, and Italy have
much better defense.
A really good defense, and the best thing about it is their defense. Like they all play for Juventus, so that they all know each other's game.
Yeah.
Like they're really used to playing each other, and Italy they play that same system that Juventus play with the three at the back. So it's as we said with Wales, they have a system that the players really know. And Italy, they just have a lot of quality, so they.
Even if they are a little lacking up front, they don't have bad forwards. They're good. They're good players. They're not
world. If you give them space, they'll hurt you. I mean.
They're not world class. Is the thing that we're going to say.
Yeah.
There's not. Balotelli wasn't world class, but anyway. They don't have explosive forwards, but they don't need that the way the team is managed at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think just the way Spain are playing, I think Italy can hold on to possession, which will hurt Spain. They're organised at their defence, which will hurt Spain. And they with with three centre halves, and it's very easy to crowd the box,
Yeah.
which will hurt Spain.
Yeah.
So I think everything about Italy screams, we have an edge over Spain.
Another thing you have to look at as well. Look at Spain play with a really slow tempo, which Italy will love that. That will give them loads of time to organise their defence. So they won't mind if Spain are just passing the ball around outside their penalty area. They'll let them do that all day long. They won't mind at all. And you look at Spain, their defence is a bit dodgy. I think if you do get up there and you can really hurt them, like I think it was Czech Republic. Yeah, Czech Republic in the group stages were unlucky not to get a goal or two. There was David De Gea had to make a really good save towards the end. Fabregas had to make a really good goal line clearance. And it was the same against Croatia. Croatia scored 2 really good goals. I think the second one was a counter attack, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And they could have had more. Rakitic saw a shot hit the underside of the crossbar and just hit the line after De Gea had given the ball straight to him.
Which was poor for him. But I think Spain have reason to be worried, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Italy go through based on our prediction to face Germany, which Italy knocked Germany out of the previous Euros at the semi-final stage. So
I think Italy do have a good record against Germany at international level, don't they?
Yeah, they really do.
Yeah, so I think Germany won't be looking forward to that.
No. Anyway, we'll skip the next match in the bracket, which is the Ireland-France match. We've talked about that quite a bit at the moment, and we'll come back to it just before the end. The last game in this bracket is possibly one of the largest teams in the tournament coming up against the smallest team in the tournament quite easily.
Go Iceland.
Yeah, England versus Iceland.
Iceland were a team that I kind of really wanted them to do well at the start of the tournament.
Of course, the underdog is always endearing.
Yeah.
The more the underdog, the better. It's why Rocky worked as a film. It's Minardi. It's why they were so popular back in the day in Formula One. And it's Iceland. They have a population of just over 300,000.
Yeah.
That's around the population of County Galway. And they're they took on Portugal. And
Austria, the team who won all but one of their qualifying matches, and many people were tipping to be dark horses. Iceland are the dark horses. To be fair to them, they've got some good players.
Gylfi Sigurdsson, Aaron Gunnarsson,
part of
who I think I can't pronounce a lot of these names.
Good player for Charlton.
What's it? Kelhorn. Oh no, I'm not even going to bother. It's one of their
their striker. I remember we played a match of FIFA once, and you were playing as Ajax, and you scored with their striker, and he was called "Go on, Steve." Yeah, so Steve.
Steve.
He's a good player.
I'm gonna look. Mind you, Iduka Johnson. Yeah, it is this guy. He's playing with Nantes. Is that how you pronounce it?
Nantes. Yeah.
Colbine
Steve.
Well, no, he's been playing quite well.
Yeah, and Finn Robinson's a good striker as well.
I'm just happy to see a team wind up Ronaldo so much.
Yeah, I mean, we're all a bit annoyed with his post-match comments, but at the same time, it just shows that Iceland really got to him and just annoyed him.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
so many epitomes. It just epitomizes ego and bad attitudes. And I'm the best player in the world.
Yeah.
I am bigger than any team I go to, which unfortunately is probably true.
Yeah.
Ronaldo can only be at Real Madrid.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's fantastic for Iceland to come and just really get inside his head and frustrate him. And you could see it had a knock-on effect. He was completely frustrated in the Austria match as well.
Yeah.
And then
missed the penalty.
Yeah.
Probably the Iceland game was probably on his mind. Then
I know.
Completely bottled it.
And playing England, who have been so very poor.
Yeah.
I know in a lot of the last group matches, I think the round of change. A lot of managers made changes. I think Roy Hodgson was justified in changing up. He, particularly with going into this tournament and just deciding on a brand new formation at the last minute. He needed to answer some questions, and it was good to rotate.
Yeah.
I think one, it's good to know that England have a good backup for Kyle Walker in Nathaniel Klein, who's very
Mhm.
impressive. It's good to know that they don't have a backup for Danny Rose because Ryan Bertrand was terrible. I think Roy Hodgson is justified in playing Wayne Rooney because Jack Wilshere was just terrible in that
Yes.
match. And
But also
also,
makes you wonder why Danny Drinkwater wasn't brought.
yeah, I know.
Also, as I said earlier, Bertrand, that probably justifies our call before the tournament, so we should have brought Cresswell.
Yeah, probably. And that while playing Sturridge in the 4-3-3 is probably best, he clearly doesn't want to be a wide player.
Yeah.
He'd be much better through the middle, I'd say. But that being said, he's been England's best wide player so far because Lallana, as we discussed, isn't playing as an out-and-out winger. He's a lot more of
central attacking mid.
Yeah, but I think
Sterling is rubbish.
I think this is weird. England sort of reverted. Like back in the day, you used to play it was 2-3-5. Does that add up to 10?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So you play five strike. You'd have your and this is where like a lot of older people will say like center forward for striker. Because you had five strikers. You had your center forward, two inside forwards, and two wing forwards. And Lallana's sort of been playing a lot more of that sort of inside forward role, and he's been not out wide. He's been dropping in to the centre a lot more. He's been weaving in and out, and he has been making darting runs down the right, which I think is fine if that's what Hodgson wants him to do.
Yeah.
And Kyle Walker's whipping in the crosses, but at the same time, you need a winger in that setup. You can't have Sturridge and Lallana be inside forwards.
Yeah. If you're going to play like that, you need a bit of balance, and Sterling didn't provide the option, like he was just terrible. So they probably would have done well to bring somebody like Mark Albright, who's
more Theo Walcott even.
Theo Walcott.
I know Walcott wants to play through the middle as well, but he's not going to complain about starting.
But like they're out and out winners who will take the ball out wide, take it to the byline and whip it across.
I was like, England, just for so long, they were just outside like the penalty area, and they were just trying so hard to get a goal, and it wasn't happening.
It made them a bit easier to defend against, and they made a dreadful Russian team and an average Slovakian team look much better than they were.
I know. I was very surprised that England weren't able to break down Slovakia.
Yeah.
At all, and also they looked like the Czech Republic in their away strip, which I thought was baffling.
Yeah.
So it's this Jack Wilshere. I think he used to be a certain type of player. He's been injured so much, it's changed the type of player that he is. But he hasn't played enough football to figure that out yet.
Yeah,
and I don't think the European Championships are the place for him to be
experimenting
and like finding himself. It's kind of the wrong place to do it. England definitely have a better team than Iceland do, but going on what Iceland have done to better teams in their what was prior to the tournament tip as better teams in their group.
Yeah,
and the way England have been so poor.
Yeah. Iceland qualified automatically from a group that contained Turkey, Czech Republic, and the Netherlands. I mean, that's
no easy feat. The Netherlands completely crumbling.
Yeah.
So, mind you, I would like. You see, the way the draw is set up, if England win and the Republic of Ireland win, we face each other in the quarterfinals. So, there's a little. The Ireland match is on first.
Yeah.
So if Ireland lose, I'd like Iceland to win.
Yeah.
But in support of the small team.
Yeah.
Doing well. However, if Ireland win, I kind of want England to win just to set
so you can have a quarter final
against England.
Wouldn't it be so sweet to knock them out?
You would on penalties.
I wouldn't be able to take the tension, but it would be so stressful. But
I'd be behind the couch. I'd have my hands over my eyes.
Yeah,
would not be able to watch it. But
we can only wait and see. But I mean, I think Iceland. I wouldn't put my house on it, but I can see Iceland maybe. Yeah. I wouldn't put it past them to get a result.
England have been poor. Like before the tournament, I said, if England get their setup right, that they can go very deep into this tournament.
Yeah.
They haven't.
Yeah.
They are at risk of being knocked out by Iceland. In the next round, they will play either Ireland or France, and Ireland will definitely up their game to play England.
Yeah.
Mind you, the last time Ireland played England, it
It's
was
the worst match
it
ever.
was a very avant-garde interpretation of what a game of football should be.
Yeah.
It's possibly the worst match of football I've ever seen. I watched an Aston Villa match once.
Oh god. Yeah. But yeah, like Iceland, I think they're more than just a hard-working team with lots of character. I think they do have a bit of creativity in midfield with Sigurdsson. They've got some pacey wingers and good strikers.
Oh, absolutely.
They've got a really big defense as well.
Yeah. So if England manage to get through Iceland, they'll face either Ireland or France. Ireland will up their game. France are hosts and are looking dangerous.
Yeah.
And can actually score. So
yeah,
which
France, yeah, it's this is a really tough draw. I mean,
and I a lot of the French players play in the Premier League, so that there'll be a lot of familiarity between like England and France if they hypothetically play this match, which is being played in Paris, mind. Sunday. Is that not just that's just
the quarterfinal?
Final?
Yeah, that's Paris.
Yeah.
Practically.
So that could be an interesting setup.
Yeah. I mean, France do have a bit of an advantage of Ireland going into this last 16 match in that, because of the way the group stages have gone, France have had a whole week to prepare for this match. Ireland have had like 3 days.
So, that could work in Ireland's favour because there's having a week off and just building up to this. You kind of get a little anxious,
Lose concentration, maybe.
You're knocking around the hotel, you're not sure what to do, you get training, but there's too much other stuff going on in their mind. The Ireland squad, they're coming off this match. They'll probably have the morning off today. They'll be going some light training. They'll be getting geared up for the France match. They knew that they were going to play France.
Yeah, and you said about Ireland will up their game if they face England in the quarterfinals, but because of the whole Thierry Henry thing back,
they're going to up.
yeah,
I think they're going to up their game.
They could,
here.
Yeah,
and you got to hand it to the Ireland squad. Yeah.
Yeah, like they could be. The first thing a lot of people were saying after Ireland were drawn against France was that we owed them one for the Thierry Henry handball. So it's definitely on a lot of people's minds.
Yeah, we considered that the game before that was a 2-legged playoff to get through to the World Cup.
Yeah.
Which I believe France finished bottom of their group in that World Cup after the players sort of fell out with each other.
Yeah, there's a player revolt.
Yeah. So the first leg, that was probably the best Ireland performance I'd seen in years.
Yeah.
So it was an absolutely phenomenal. Like they played their socks off in that first match against France, and there'll be some of the players are still like Coleman would still be, Robbie Keane, McGeady, Shay Given's still in the squad.
Yeah.
So a lot of the players will remember that.
Yeah.
Paul McShane isn't anymore.
He's punditry for TV3.
Less said about that, the better.
Yeah.
And it's like, how did they get these people? They got Keith Andrews. And it's like, okay,
to be fair to him, at least he's enthusiastic. He's better than the dull drawl of Neil Lennon and Paul McShane.
And Graham Souness. Okay, Graham Souness, he did BBC commentary for punditry for a while.
Yeah.
And RTE as well, I think. So I can understand why they roped him in. But Neil Lennon. Okay, Neil Lennon had a good career. He won the League Cup with Leicester City while played under Martin O'Neill, so I can understand that. Like Neil Lennon, never had anyone sit down to me and it's like, that Neil Lennon, walks into the dressing room, just such a natural charisma, it makes you feel 10 million feet tall, I've never heard anyone say that about Neil Lennon,
Yeah.
Or anyway,
back to the Ireland match. While on paper this does look like a really tough draw, and it is.
Yeah,
I'm
there's
no denying that. I have to say I would rather have France than say Italy or
again
Germany, or Croatia.
That would be cruel. Going out giving our all to beat Italy and then just getting drawn against them
again.
I think there's a lot of complicated maths to work out how the draw was meant to have been made.
Yeah.
It's not here anymore.
Yeah.
I was looking it up. They had all the permutations worked out, so the teams from the group couldn't play each other
Yeah.
again in the round of 16.
Yeah, but France, because of the whole Ireland will feel they have unfinished business because of the handball, and
I do.
also France, there's no doubt they've got a very talented team, but you still have the players in that France team who just aren't reaching the heights expected of them. Like Paul Pogba, I wouldn't say he's been bad in any of the games he's played, but he hasn't set
The
world
world
alive.
the way a best young player at the World Cup would be expected.
Yeah,
to.
he hasn't dominated games. Like he gets on the ball and he'll have a good shot on goal, or he'll make a good pass, a good diagonal ball. But he won't get on the ball, dictate play.
Yeah.
He won't be tearing defenses apart with his dribbling.
Griezmann hasn't really been firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
I don't think. Payet's been France's
standout player. Yeah.
And even at that, I don't think he's been. You don't think he's been utilized properly.
Yeah.
I think if he was to move into the center, I think France would be lacking out wide.
Yeah.
I'd say so. He's for the sake of the team. I think he's best out there. So
yeah,
France would probably be the only team that had been. France and Hungary performing well in all their matches.
Yeah.
So it's going to be tough for Ireland. But are we going to make any predictions as to who's going to win?
I'm afraid, but I'm
going to say just the
Ireland match.
The Ireland match. Okay, we'll go the Ireland match first. Then we're going to predict who's going to win the tournament.
Yeah.
I'll get my magic octopus. So.
For Ireland against France. My heart says Ireland. My head says France.
Great cliche.
Yeah.
No, France are probably going to win. I want Ireland to win, but I'm prepared for a loss. Which, as I said to Adam yesterday, just after the Ireland match, it's the fact that the odds are so insurmountable that you, in your mind, have made peace with the fact that Ireland might lose this match, and then they go win it, and the victory is all the sweeter.
Yeah.
So who do you think is going to win the tournament? I'm going to say Croatia, because the way the draw is falling, they have a path to the final, and I think they could pip it.
I think it's going to be a Croatia-Italy final, and
that's
a tough one to call. I've been raving about this Italian defence, but Croatia have so much quality in midfield and attack. Yeah. I would love to see Croatia win because it'd be.
Mind you, look at it this way. I'm just looking at the draw. Ireland could have a path to the final. They beat France. In the next match, beat England. In the next match, come up against Italy. Yeah, we've beaten Italy before. We can beat it, or Germany. We've beaten them before. We can beat them again.
Then into the final where we face Northern Ireland.
Or
Ireland final.
Or Wales. Although at this stage, or Poland as well would be quite. Either of those three would be quite. Do you think anywhere will be open if Ireland are playing Poland in the final?
I think Ireland would just turn into not just a ghost town, a ghost country.
Everyone will be watching that. Even people who don't like soccer will be watching that. Because there'll be nothing else to do. So that's a very you do the draws to it's going to be a mountain task to beat France, but as it progresses, Ireland have a track record of rising to the occasion against all the possible teams in this, except for Spain.
I think if we get past France, then that's when we'd really start to believe, because I think England, if assuming England were to beat Iceland, of course they could easily not. If England were to beat Iceland, and we were to face England, then we'd love that.
Absolutely,
that'd be fantastic.
It's entirely possible.
What would make it even better would be that I think all of Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland will be rooting for us.
It's the old adage. It's England. I think less so in soccer than it is in rugby. Everyone wants to beat England, but I think it's still true in soccer because England. It's not just because they're England. It's because out of this set of teams, they're arguably been the best for the longest.
Yeah.
And like it was the same back in the Ferguson days. Everyone would try extra hard to beat United just because they were United and they were the best team.
Don't mention that to Kevin Keegan.
You
No.
know? Look, so I just want to say I just love it if we beat France.
Just love it.
Absolutely. And look, to reach the last 16 has been fantastic, and I think we can be very proud of what's happened on the pitch and both off the pitch.
Yeah.
And it's been a good tournament all round for Ireland. And I think that's about it from us. So I've been Ronan Maher.
I'm
I've been Forget My Name.
I've been Forget My Name. I've been Jeff Reeves.
And this podcast is now brought to you by Honda, the power of dreams.
Okay.
Oh no, that's their slogan. I think with what we've just been
How much are they paying us? Or are you just hoping?
I'm just hoping, with the way we've been going on, that we bought into Honda's corporate attitude. So if anyone from Honda is out there, Fernando Alonso, maybe, give us a call. Thanks very much for listening.